if I could get Cooper Blackwell. Cooper Blackwell to step on the stage. He's going to introduce our speaker for today. And whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. Excellent. I am Cooper Blackwell. I'm a Human Relations Commissioner for the City of Rocky Mount. I'm also the president of the NAACP here in Rocky Mount, local branch 5.1B. And I'm the vice president of innovations at OIC of Rocky Mount, a local nonprofit dedicated to helping people help themselves. We've worked so hard alongside of many of you to pull this together, and Darius and Sheila has done an excellent job in keeping things and the rest of the team. Today, at the luncheon, we have an invigorating session that you all are going to absolutely enjoy. My job here in front of you is to introduce our dynamite speaker for the luncheon this afternoon, a friend of mine, and in typical millennial fashion, and up until this event, we texted the whole time in a Facebook Messenger about confirming attendance. So, brother, I'm glad that it worked out and we are here today. So, Dr. Dillahunt Holloway, Ajamu Amiri Dillahunt Holloway, is an assistant professor in the Department of History at NC State University. His research is on 20th century African American history with the focus on the U.S. South, labor, and the Black freedom struggle. At present, Ajamu is the co-leader of the Communiversity, a community-based archive and educational institution that housed the records of Black workers for justice up until this moment. They are doing great work here in Rocky Mount as well. He is also a board member of the Interreligious Foundation of Community Organizations, the North Carolina Environmental Justice Network, and Democracy North Carolina. Dr. Dillahunt Holloway has served as an interinstitutional scholar for diversity and inclusion in the Department of History at ECU. He served as an assistant editor with the award-winning blog Black Perspectives, as an intern with the SNCC Digital Gateway Project, SNCC, at Duke University, a research assistant for Charlie Cobb, a book acquisition student worker at Duke University Press, and an editorial assistant for the Journal of African American History. This accomplished scholar has graduated from North Carolina Central University, and Eagles in the house, Eagle Pride, with a bachelor's in history and a bachelor's in political science. In 2023, Dr. Ajamu Amiri Dillahunt Holloway graduated from Michigan State University with his PhD in history. Let's give a roaring round of applause for my man, Dr. Ajamu Amiri Dillahunt Holloway. Please.
Brother Cooper Blackwell, thank you for that warm introduction. And it feels good to be in Rocky Mount. I've seen a lot of familiar faces from across the state. There's some good people in here, so I know I'm in the right place, and there's a lot of good things being talked about today that's going to move our society forward. But before I say anything, before I talk about the importance of history and its usefulness to our present, and before I talk about the responsibility of Black elected officials from a historical standpoint, I have to do some acknowledgments. You know, being in Rocky Mount is neighboring. First, I want to give a huge shout out to and welcome to Supreme Court Justice Mr. Michael. My next acknowledgement has to be to an organization founded in Rocky Mount in 1981, the Black Workers for Justice. The organization had a worker center that sat right in front here on Atlantic Avenue from 1987 until about the early 2000s. And the organization played an important role in moving our cause as African American people forward They committed themselves to justice and freedom. And I have to name drop two people because we sat right here in this room to celebrate his life. Baba Saladin Muhammad, who I will talk a little bit more about today. And Mama Naima Muhammad, who is an EJ warrior here in North Carolina and throughout the country. And I have to acknowledge City Councilman Mr. Ruben Blackwell, who I've known for some time, who I'm grateful for. So being in Rocky Mountain, you gotta acknowledge him and the other black elected officials here. And also, I just recently discovered as a historian that I have family roots here in Rocky Mountain. I had a great-great-grandfather by the name of Reverend F.F. Foster, who owned some land here. So through family history, I'm noticing that Rocky Mountain is not just something that's important to us as a people or important to me as a scholar and activist, but it's important on a personal level. So it's really good to be here. My talk today, and I'm going to stick to my script because I'm a university professor and I want to limit it to 15 minutes, but I can go on for an hour and 30. So I know we got a schedule in the program, so I don't want to put us behind, So my talk today will be, it's titled History and Service of Black Futures. And in my estimation, history and the struggle for black freedom have an unbreakable bond. If there is an attack on black history, we should consider that an attack on black people and our existence as a people. Brothers and sisters, what I'm saying today is that we're in a crisis on the social, political, economic, educational, and environmental fronts. If we look at Florida, they are not only banning books about the black experience, they're promoting an inaccurate view of the past. They are telling us that enslaved people personally benefited from slavery. Now this is dangerous. It has the potential to seriously impact the next generation of young people and how they understand the world. But it's also an effort of this country to try and downplay the inhumanity, the cruelty that existed from the institution of slavery. It is also an intentional effort from this country to try and deny, delegitimize our rightful claim for reparations. So we have to be mindful of this. But let's be clear about one thing. Our existence as a people depends on this fight for African American history. History is important for our future. And I want to break it down. What is African American history? Why is it under attack? And what role did the key conceptualizers play in using history to inform our fight ahead? Now, I like to tell people that black history is more than just dates or remembering facts about various things. Black history is about people, organizations, events, change over time. But most importantly, black history is about the why of the situation. How did something become the way that it did? And so if we really want to move forward as a people, we have to move beyond this surface level understanding of history and celebrating the first. But we have to do that, but we have to go deeper. How do we get to the point where we are, that our people are still in this deep crisis? So history is much deeper than facts and names. Now, if you're talking about African American history, you have to reference Carter G. Woodson. Now, we know who Carter G. Woodson is, right? All right, the founder, father of black history. And, I don't like to, judge people of the past. Carter G. Woodson was excellent, and I'm going to, read a couple of quotes for him. But I'll say this, if we could say he made any mistakes, it might have been his fraternal lineage. I just hate that Carter G. Woodson wasn't a brother of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. I feel that we could have done a little bit more, But no, in all seriousness, Carter G. Woodson is the rightful father of black history. But he reminded us one thing in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. He said, if a race has no history, if it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world and stands in danger of being exterminated. If a race has no history, no traditions, it stands in the field of possibly being exterminated. And brothers and sisters, I think this attack on our history coming out of Florida is leading us to this possibility of being exterminated. So if we don't raise up and fight back, we're in deep crisis. You see, Woodson wasn't just interested in history about facts or this happened, that happened. He believed that history could psychologically empower our people. He believed that history should be used to fight racial prejudice. It should be used to fight racism. You see, Woodson, he was dedicated to the craft of black history. He wanted black history to be in churches. He wanted it to not just be a month or a week. Carter G. Woodson said that Black History Month should be used as a strategic standpoint to get black history in public schools. Black history in public schools. We have not yet reached that area in which Carter G. Woodson wanted us to do. So we still have a fight on our hands. Some of it, in some aspects, was in schools, but it had never reached the scale in which we needed it. So this generation of young people are coming of age at a time where they're not fully understanding the contribution that their people have made. Contribution that people that look like them, that psychological impact that history does, a generation is missing that. So we're in a crisis. And in a more practical sense, too, John Henry Clark said that black history should be used to rebuild the black community. And one of my favorites, Brother Malcolm X, said that it is important for you and me to spend time today learning something about the past so we can better understand it. We can better understand the present, analyze it, and then do something about it. Brother Malcolm said, just as a tree without roots is dead, a people without history or culture roots also become a dead people. Just like a tree without roots is dead, a people with no history or culture become a dead people. We cannot become a dead people. And so now, this section of the talk, I want to break down what the historian John Henry Clark said, using history to rebuild the black community. What does that mean for us today? What are some practical aspects of that, and how can we move forward? How can history get us out of this crisis? I love the past, I love hearing stories, but there's some actual concrete things that we can do. And so I have to admit this, and I hate to admit it at a gathering of black elected officials, but for the most part, when we talk about black political power, we do not operate from a perspective guided by history. And what it means to be a black elected official, in my estimation, in the review of the past, it has already been written. It's not up for debate. There's a certain level of responsibility and obligation that exists that we can't move past. In my view, if we're looking at the history of black elected officials or black political power, I studied at North Carolina Central University under Dr. Jarvis Hall in the political science department. We broke down, all levels of government and history and how African Americans have related to the political process. And the conclusion that I reached at the #1 HBCU in North Carolina what I learned in the Edmonds classroom building at North Carolina Central University was that the black elected official has to be committed to the fight against racism, the fight against economic injustices, and all forms of oppression. And let me, has to be opposed to those things, opposed to all forms of oppression. Let me tell you the historical example that leads us to that. Because black elected officials has always been on the fight to move humanity forward. If we look at Reconstruction, I know we know about Reconstruction, especially when in Eastern North Carolina, we know a little something about Reconstruction. Reconstruction, black elected officials, and we're talking about a period from 1865, so-called post-emancipation, to the period of 1877, is where black elected officials and many state legislators across the South, especially in South Carolina, even in North Carolina, but we're pushing for public education at the time when it wasn't normalized that public education was free and accessible to everyone. But it was black elected officials who brought public education to the center and accessible to everyone. That's a historic mandate that we cannot let go. So as these attacks come, with public education, I believe African Americans, we have to build our own institutions. No doubt about it. But we are, our people, black elected officials, and the movement that got these elected officials there in the first place, fought for public education. That's just not something we let go by. So we take our battle to the school boards too. We teach history in our churches. We build our own institutions, our educational institutions. But we cannot let the fight for public education leave us. is a crucial part of our mandate. And to take it a step further, I believe that black elected officials are obligated and have a responsibility to the African American freedom struggle. Because if it was not for the struggle for voting rights, if it was not for the commitment of activists in the Deep South, if it was not for the movement for social progress led by our people, there would be no black elected officials. And so, in my view, tradition, when we talk about what Carter G. Woodson said, what Malcolm said, what John Henry Clark said, it is in our tradition. It is in our tradition to be engaged in the fight for social transformation, to think about the people and the planet. We have no choice. We have no choice. And since we're in Rocky Mount, a place that I admire, I guess we should use a little bit of an example. So, before 1983, before the big voting rights, lawsuit, I know a lot of people know this story, but Rocky Mount was operating under an at-large system that really prevented black political power. But because of sacrifices from people like community activists, Naomi Green, or people who were active in the Black Workers for Justice, 3 plaintiffs were from Black Workers for Justice in this lawsuit that turned Rocky Mount from an at-large system to a true war system that allowed black elected officials to be able to participate, to be able to win an election, to really challenge white supremacy as it relates to the electoral front. And so when I came to Rocky Mount and I saw Mr. Reuben Blackwell, Councilman Reuben Blackwell, acknowledging those roots and saying that he has an obligation to those roots, I said, well, this should be a trend across the country. Rocky Mount is setting the tone. That Mr. Blackwell did not distance himself from that movement. He sees himself as part of that movement. He was in his very room emceeing the celebration of life of Baba Saladin Muhammad, acknowledging the work that Black Workers for Justice had made and the contributions they had made to that lawsuit. So the black elected official has a responsibility to the African American freedom struggle. And in that same time period in the neighboring town of Fremont, there was a similar struggle around the fight for black political power. They got Mr. Billy Harvey elected. So this fight, this question of governance for the African American experience is a unique question. I think we have a unique responsibility, especially as it relates to governance. It has to be tied to the ongoing, the strong African American freedom struggle. And so I want to take some time to unpack some more John Henry Clark's point about using black history to rebuild the black community. And I think a real common thing in our community is economic justice, is jobs, is the economy, where our people can work. But I think we have to be serious about one thing, and this takes us back to Florida just a little bit. And I think African American historians have proven this point time after time again, is that our solutions to the problems impacting African Americans cannot be rooted in the economic system of capitalism. That's right. And I say this, I know this might upset some folks sitting here today, but the reason that I say our solutions cannot be rooted in the economic system of capitalism, because if you understand the origins of the economic system of capitalism, you know that it's an economic system that was developed, rooted in the institution of slavery. So you can't talk about capitalism without talking about slavery. You can't talk about slavery without talking about capitalism. This isn't just some idea. This isn't just some opinion of mine. This is nothing but historic fact. And so if we're going to think about history and how it informs our present, then we have to understand that the African American people have engaged in ideas or economic systems beyond the economic system of capitalism. Our people have been fighting for cooperatives, that's right, for collective institutions. And see, the economic system of capitalism, let's get into it a little bit, is an individualistic system. You see, capitalism indeed was birthed out of the institution of slavery, but it was birthed out of a system that needed exploitation and brutality to thrive. And so in order for that system, that institution to be maintained, it needs brutality It needs exploitation to thrive, and that is what we're witnessing today. We're in an economic crisis. We're in a political crisis. But our people are suffering, and we got to look beyond capitalism. There's a book called Collective Courage. And, a lot of times people say, oh, who's this person writing? But it was written by a black economist. She has a PhD in the economy. So, in my view, the sister understands the economy very well. So I encourage us, as we think about solutions to the problems impacting our people, our community, we look at this book called Collective Courage. It talks about the history of black people and cooperatives. Let me share something too. In Raleigh, we're in the process of building fertile ground food cooperative, a community-owned grocery store. See, Southeast Raleigh, which is still with gentrification going on, African Americans make up 60% of the population. But since 2013, when Kroger decided to close its store in Southeast Raleigh, we've been living in a food desert. But fertile ground uses a different term. Fertile ground doesn't say food desert, it says food apartheid. Because the food desert is something natural that happens. That's an occurrence in the desert. That's something you can't control. Food apartheid is something that is intentional. Come on. This is the line that fertile ground puts forward. So the reason that African Americans don't have access to fresh and affordable food in Southeast Raleigh is not because of something natural. It's because of an intentional process by a political structure that doesn't want our people to eat, think, or thrive at all. Come on. So fertile ground announced its site. It's going to be off Garner Road in Raleigh, in the heart of the African American community. It's going to provide fresh foods for black farmers. It's going to provide healthy options for our community. And it's not just going to be a grocery store, it's going to be a cultural institution where you can have educational sessions about food, about the crisis going on in our neighborhoods, community safety, all these different elements. So it takes this question of food and puts it in conversation with social justice. But it's built on this model, and the reason that I mentioned it, out of this book, Collective Courage, the black cooperative movement that's happening all across the country. See, when you have cooperatives, when you have collective institutions, that's how you help build a more democratic society. And you see, the responsibility of black elected officials is not to be an individual, it's to promote participation in the political process. It's to promote and expand democratic participation. That is the role of the black elected official. So while a responsibility is had on the black elected official, the black elected officials never by themselves, and they cannot see themselves by themselves. Come on. And I want to build more on this question of economic justice for our people. I'm a historian. I believe history is not straightforward, it's not simple, it's a very complex institution that requires us to understand change over time. So when we talk about economic justice, you've got to talk about Dr. King. And I look at a brother on the city council here in Durham. Dr. King was an outsider. I'm going to bring up his fraternal lineage. Dr. King made mistakes too. And his fraternal lineage, another brother on the city council, both houses, But, Dr. King, just like Carter G. Woodson, they were brilliant individuals, very crucial to our people. And Dr. King, when he was assassinated, got to use that term assassinated, because that's what took place. Right. Where was Dr. King? Where was he when he was assassinated? Memphis, Tennessee. And what was he doing in Memphis, Tennessee? Standing with sanitation.
Come on now. Come on. My.
And so if I'm looking at Dr. King, I'm looking at his speech, his writing letter from the Birmingham jail. I'm looking at his Beyond Vietnam speech. I'm looking at his critique of the economic system of capitalism. See, brothers and sisters, when I brought up capitalism and this inability to be able to function within our community, or a lack of being healthy in our community, I'm not bringing anything new. I'm just bringing forward a tradition. You see, we quote Dr. King's "I Have a Dream," but we don't talk about his version of economic justice. His critique of capitalism, his work with sanitation. So why would Dr. King, where he was assassinated, where he was doing work with sanitation workers, be relevant to the African American experience today? Well, brothers and sisters, I'd like to tell you that within the state of North Carolina, where I know for a fact, Raleigh, even Rocky Mount, or even Durham, if I remember correctly, when I was at the greatest HBCU, is that majority of our people remain in those industries.
That's right.
Those are main industries where African Americans work.
That's right.
But if you look at city structures, and now we're going to get down to a deep because this is municipal, we're talking about city council. If you look at the conditions of sanitation workers, the wages of workers,
Come on.
they're the most exploited. They make the lowest wages. And see, Dr. King reminded us one thing, and we got to be mindful of this as in North Carolina, is that economic justice is crucial. That the African American freedom struggle, that the African American experience has this unbreakable bond with labor, with organized labor. And we have to understand that our state right to work laws, they're rooted.
That's right.
And Jim Crow laws. That there was a relationship between African American freedom organizations and labor unions. A. Philip Randolph, we know who that is, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See, A. Philip Randolph ain't make no mistakes. He was a citizen. I can't say he made no mistakes. A. Philip Randolph was, if you're thinking about African Americans and labor, African Americans and unions, you got to understand A. Philip Randolph. So this idea, for some reason, because the majority of African American people are workers, a lot of our people are in industries, sanitation, water and sewage in different cities, but are paid significantly low wages. And so in my view, the responsibility of the black elected official should be on the side of those workers. So the sanitation workers are dealing with some issues. You know where you should be. You know where you should be. Right. I don't got passion. I'm supposed to be included right now. I don't got passion. But see, another thing, these right to work laws, brothers and sisters, you may not be in state government, you may not be in the legislature, but you're at the city level. We got to wage a real fight against them. The origins of those laws, I remind you again, are rooted in Jim Crow. There was a relationship between African Americans and labor unions. Our people were thinking about the economy. We're thinking about building power. And African Americans have always participated in labor unions.
That's right.
And let's clear things up. You know, I know some folks like to get into legality and stuff. You know, I didn't go to law school, but I am a historian that just because we're in a right to work state, workers can join a union.
That's right.
Let's not get that twisted.
Right.
Workers can join a union. Now, they may not be able to have a legally binding contract with the union, with the employer, public sector workers. But workers can join a union. City workers can join a union. They should join a union. They got to join a union.
Come on now.
I think the black elected official has to be supporting them when they're joining that union. And I'll move on to the next phase of my talk, and I'll begin to conclude. But we know who W.E. Du Bois is, right?
Yes, sir.
See, you said he was an album. I was going to get to that. I was going to say he made some mistakes. But Du Bois, as a historian, you cannot not engage with Du Bois. Du Bois wrote one of the most important books probably to the African American people called Black Reconstruction in America. This is where he talks about African Americans contributing, playing an instrumental role in this fight for public education in this country. But W.E. Du Bois, you know, we read the souls of black folks, you know, and see, this is where history becomes important because we got to understand people over time. People shift, develop ideas as they begin to learn more. Their perspective begins to shift. And so Du Bois, at the end of his life, you know, he joined the ancestors while in Ghana. But Du Bois critiqued the economic system of capitalism. Du Bois was opposed to capitalism. And I won't say what organization or institution that he was engaged in towards the end of his life. I'll let you do the research on your own. But it's one of the most brilliant minds that have come out of our people questioned capitalism. One of the greatest historians of our time questioned capitalism, not based on his personal view, but based on historical fact. We gotta better understand. So no offense to Jay-Z and Beyonce who say they're black capitalists, but you gotta call folks out when they're wrong.
Yep.
They're wrong.
Amen.
Capitalism is wrong for our people. The truth is, majority of our people, not even half, not even maybe 5% will not become billionaires and millionaires. So it's this unrealistic view. So the economic system of capitalism, brothers and sisters, we got to stand against it and think about building alternative systems that take care of each other, that supports each other, that in times of crisis we can call on each other. So if you don't take anything from what I say, please take away the responsibility of the elected official to oppose the economic system of capitalism, to fight for economic justice, and to never divorce itself from the African American people. If you don't take anything from what I say, I hope you take North Carolina Central University as the organization fraternity that exists. I hope you take that, but I hope you take those assessments with you today. And I really believe that when the March on Washington, the March for Jobs and Freedom, that they understood that jobs meant public safety. That when people have what they need to survive, that's safety. When people have housing, that's safety. When people have fresh food, that's safety. When people have a stroke, that's safety. But we live in a society that is structured in a way that people are going to have to struggle. And it just so happens to be that since this country was built, that our people have always got the tail end of that stuff. We've always been the one that suffered the most. And I want to say one thing because I'm in Rocky Mountain. What is the responsibility of the elected official? And I think history, and when you're talking about history, examples are important. I want to say the name of Reverend Thomas L. Walker. See, Reverend Walker supported the sanitation workers in Rocky Mount who went on strike in 1978. Who went on strike and supported their co-worker, Mr. Alexander Evans, who is a founding member of Black Workers for Justice. And Reverend Walker supported those workers. And from the historical record, it was without hesitation, without question. And Reverend Walker, in the 1980s, was a county commissioner. And in 1988, workers at the sledge lock plant in Rocky Mount were told that their plant was closing and moving its operations to Mexico. And the plant said, we're not going to offer these workers severance pay. We're not going to extend their health insurance. The only thing we're going to offer them is mental health counseling to help them cope with their eventual job. Wow. This is what the company told a workplace that was 80% African American workers and majority Black workers. But these two concerned workers went to Reverend Walker's office. He's a county commissioner, he's a civil rights activist, and he's a minister, he's a reverend. Reverend Walker picked up the phone and called one of the city's most respected labor activists, Saladin Muhammad. So Reverend Walker didn't try and brush these workers off. He knew that there was an active movement of African American workers fighting for better pay, better working conditions, fighting to improve their community. So he sent them to the Worker Center right here off Atlantic Avenue. Over 100 plus workers gathered to talk about their concerns. And these workers waged a fight back. Not somebody speaking for them, not Saladin Muhammad speaking for them. These workers built their own organization. 100 plus sledge lock workers fought against the plant closure. They fought against economic injustices. They fought and won severance pay and extended health insurance. And they fought for an environmental cleanup because the company was dumping toxic chemicals. But let me tell you something about Reverend Walker. If you look at the footage when they marched throughout Rocky Mountain, Reverend Walker was right there. At the time, a county commissioner, elected official. If you look at the boycotts, the pickets that they had, Reverend Walker was right there. If you look at all elements that took place, Reverend Walker was right there. So if we're talking about the role of elected officials, history is on our side, brothers and sisters. If you feel misguided or lost, we have examples out here to follow. When the Worker Center of Black Workers for Justice opened in 1987, Reverend Walker was there. he gave his support. And he said he hoped that the community took advantage of the resources that the Workers Center provided. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a relationship to the African American freedom struggle that is important, that is inspiring, and that needs to continue. So, this statewide conference of Black elected officials, I thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope that in this deep, deep crisis, you lean on history, you learn history, and I will even offer resources. I will even offer guidance. If there's a question that you need more understanding on, I'm here to support, I'm here to help, and I know there's a ton of Black historians who are also willing to help too. But let's not forget, Black elected officials governing has an unbreakable bond with the African American freedom struggle. Thank y'all, and continue to work.
Y'all stand up again and give them a round of applause again. All right, now you can be seated. All right, so moving right along. We now have all right, so Council Member Jordan, City of Rocky Mountain, has graciously donated some honey to the tables that we have here. But now, the only way you can get out of it is if you are the youngest elected official at that table. And it's only one. And it's on your table. You don't have to notice it. It's on your table. So the youngest person. So let's figure it out. The youngest person at the table.
One clarification, age of service or age?
So I'm just letting y'all know, you know how to find out on that day. But anyway, y'all figure it out, we're going to move on. So I just want to stare it out there and each other speak. But next up, we'll have our scholarship committee. All those folks on the scholarship committee, if you would come up, or affiliate. Joe, if you would come up. Edward, Mayor Bull, and the rest of the scholarship committee. They're coming forward to present the Dr. Larry Walker Scholarship Awards, and those that were selected to apply for scholarships. And I want to turn over to the scholarship committee. All right, so we'll have Mayor Blue take the lead of the scholarship committee.
Thank you, President Amiri. One thing I would like to say before we start, young man, I appreciated everything you said, and it is so important and so needed in times like these.
Man.
So, the scholarship committee, our chair had a little slight medical emergency, so she had to go out. So, we had 18 scholarship applications. That's the most we've had in a while. So we narrowed it down to 3 people, which was hard, very hard, because some of the people that didn't get it, they just didn't get it because they didn't do everything right. And it's important that you fill out that document, every line on it, because that is is graded. So without further ado, we will have the other scholarship committee to come up. When they talk about you and call your name, you come up and get your certificate. And of course, you will get a check for $1,000.
Good afternoon. As a proud 1992 graduate of Smith-Selma High School in Johnson County, I am excited and also delighted to present our first scholarship to Mr. Daniel May. Daniel is a 2023 graduate of Smith-Selma High School. He will be attending UNC Greensboro. He will major in computer science with a concentration in game development, also minor in media studies. Also, Daniel was an excellent athlete. He was a 2022 wrestling regionalist. And also, he's been instrumental in a lot of volunteer hours with the 4-H. He works. Matter of fact, he just alluded to me a while ago. He had to be working 3 o'clock today, so we get him out of here. But I present you Mr. Daniel May, and he got any words to say. He wanted to welcome to do so. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Marlon Lee, and special thanks to Ms. Ophelia Johnson for having me out today. Unfortunately, she is not here. And another thanks to Mr. Jonathan. Yes, that's my stepfather. He is in the car right now because he's a little underdressed. One thing I want to talk about is my high school experience. See, for many people in my grade and my age, they feel that when they first come, they have to stick to a group or find their little clique for their 4 years. That wasn't me. See, I just came from a different county, and I wanted to know everybody. I wanted to be your friend. I wanted to talk to you because that was my goal. I wanted to be an advocate for all the people. By the time I was a senior and I graduated, there was not a person in my school who did not know my name, whether it was the IB program, ADVIT, JOCO Teach, athletics, because I wanted to be that voice for everyone. And someone they could go to in times of need, or when they just didn't know something, like what's the next test, or when was this football game or wrestling event. No one really cared about wrestling, that was just me, I was kind of But I wanted to be the leader in that community. Or like I said, I was the spirit chair, I was the vice president of my school, I was the captain in my second year of being a wrestler. And I just want all of you young people out here today, don't worry, y'all are young too. Go out there, do what you want to do. Don't break the law, please. But let me tell you a little bit about what I want to do in the future. As Mr. Marlon Lee said, I am going to be going to UNCG for game development, and I'll be minoring in media studies. But I want to do so much more than that. See, how this scholarship is going to help me is, I want to do esports. I want to do fencing. I want to do many things that people find a little strange, but I want to promote it. And another thing I want to do is, I want to open a bakery down here. It may sound a little funny, but the reason for that is there are some people I know that struggle as we speak right now. I want to open it for them, so in times of need, they can come over, get a job, make a little bit of money, so they can go back out there and make their own homes, make their own families. And one more thing I want to do while I'm at UNCG, I want to promote the Word of God. See, I went to the scholarship a few months ago from Mr. Marlon Lee, and he had asked me a specific question. It was, is there a verse that you live by? At the time, I didn't really have an answer. I just gave something out of the book of Revelation. It was a little strange. I apologize, Mr. Lee. But now I've gone and I got baptized 2 weeks ago. I found my answer. The verse of James chapter 1, verse 22, my bad. Be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. Many people say they are Christian, but how many of us are living like one? How many of us are praying like one? How many of us are worshiping like one? I want to spread the word of God and the lifestyle of God while I am at UNCG. If God will permit me, I want to to be a youth pastor once I'm done. That's not all I have to say, but thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a blessed day.
Good afternoon. As a member of the BEMO Scholarship Committee, I stand to introduce some, maybe reintroduce most. Marcel Edward Polk. Mr. Marcel Edward Polk, born in Washington, D.C., is a recent graduate of Hunt High School in Wilson, North Carolina. He's bound from North Carolina Central University. His current GPA is 3.8. Some highlighted areas of leadership include captain of the track and field team, an active member of the Recycle and Science Club. He's an ambassador, or was an ambassador at Hunt for New Students, a part of the Upward Bound Trio program. Mr. Marcel Polk has a host of community engagement activities to include, he's volunteered at the Whirly Gig Festival, he's a member of Wilson Youth Council, he's volunteered at Reed Street, he's distributed toys for Christmas, he's volunteered with opening day for Little League or Wilson Parks and Recreation, and he's also donated books. That's most recent of May of this year. Special honors or recognition on behalf of Mr. Marcel Polk. Student of the Month, Certificate of Excellence, Boys Indoor Track Coaches Award, MVP Boys Track and Field, Trio Upward Bound, Black Hunt High School PTO Scholarship, Citizenship Award, Distinguished Athlete Award, Dr. Jesse L. Bass Scholarship Award, Beta, Chapter Omega, Sci-Fi Scholarship Award. But out of the many accolades of Mr. Polk, one I found most interesting as a word of encouragement by Ms. Tracy Sherrod, Director of Library Services. Of Marcel Polk, she writes, Marcel is a natural leader who doesn't follow the crowd. I present to you again, Mr. Marcel Polk.
My name is Marcel Polk, and I am here with my mom and my sister. I am a graduate of Hunt High School in Wilson, North Carolina, and what I have learned during my 4 years there has prepared me for this next chapter in my life. The leadership skills I obtained while participating in extracurricular activities are captain of the track team and welcoming new students at Hunt High School as ambassador. Also gaining patience while tutoring the other classmen in their studies to help them with their classes. Gaining humility while volunteering in the community. These skills, these traits, will forever
You're good. That's right.
These skills, these traits, will forever be a part of me. Will forever be a part of me and will help me tackle my goals in the future. In the fall, I will be attending North Carolina Central University, where I will be majoring in sports medicine. There, I will continue to grow my leadership skills, and my humility will help me in the community. Upon graduating, I will become a physical therapist for a winning sports organization. There, I will be influencing young athletes in that community to help maintain their physicality in and out of the season. I want to thank North Carolina Black elected recipients officials for entrusting me with this scholarship. Thank you.
Christy Mayhew. They reside in Smithfield, North Carolina. Andrew has been accepted to the School of Communications at East Carolina University, Greenville, North Carolina. Andrew shared that one of the things that pushed him hardest to achieve his goal is the fact that he would be one of the first generation of college students in his father's family. His goal, since he's been age 5, has to become a sports broadcaster for ESPN. I want to share to people minority like me, that anything is possible if you work hard enough and you believe God. I was impressed by words from his counselor or teacher, Mrs. Jennifer Cochran. In her words, she describes Andrew as quiet, and tries hard to understand and grasp every concept presented to him. He's not a leader that is loud and bossy, but he's the one that leads with confidence, she said. His strong belief in his ability to acquire new skills and improve through practice was likely shaped by his years as a basketball and soccer player. He is willing to work at something to understand even if it requires much more effort than others. It is his quiet demeanor that allows Andrew to stand out among his peers. Andrew is described as an honest, trustworthy, reliable young man. He moves at his own pace, takes care of his responsibilities, and belongs to just to be his own person. His awards that we mentioned was member of the National Honor Society. He had a scholastic athlete for maintaining a 3.0 GPS while participating in multiple sports. He volunteers with Special Olympics. His personal goal, as I end, Andrew plans to use all his money and resources that he gets from working at ESPN to help his family and his friends in the future. Andrew wants to make sure his parents do not have to work anymore in the future, and they can relax and enjoy a great life growing old. Andrew, we look forward to seeing you at ESPN.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew again, and first of all, I want to honor my parents, my two parents, my mom and dad, and my sister for coming out today. I want to give honor to God because anything, He's the one that gave my life. I would like to honor the NC BEMO scholarship committee for helping me out and giving me this opportunity to use this scholarship for my future. I am extremely grateful to be selected for this scholarship. I know it was hard to decide for everyone else, all the people that did it, and I would like to honor my two fellow students that also attended the scholarship. Will help me assist in pursuing my dream of becoming a sports broadcaster at ESPN. And it's a thing I wanted to do since the age of 5. I've always had it in my mind as a child. And I just love sports in general, all types of sports, and I love talking about it and debating with a couple of people about it. I feel like I will put this scholarship to great use this fall at East Carolina University, and where I will be majoring in communications. I will strive to pay it forward to going to other young individuals like myself in the future, helping them out and trying to build up the minority of people to become sports broadcasters or be involved in sports. Again, I would like to say thank you to all of you, and I hope you have a great day.
Good afternoon to everyone in the BEMO, all of our sponsors, all of our participants, relatives, and our participants. This was our 2023 presentation of the scholarships for our committee. We are so pleased. We had 3 young men this year. Usually the women went out, but this year we had 3 young men, and we are so proud of you all for completing all of our guidelines and to be here today. Do we have any parents who would like to say anything? No? Okay, and I'm very grateful to our committee for working hard. We worked hard for this. It's not easy to choose 3 young people out of 18. It is not easy. But we did it, and we had a great presentation, and thank you all.
Thank you to the Scholarship Committee, and let's give a round of applause. And to the recipients that received the scholarships. If you clap. Good day, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you doing all the great work in the future. And everybody, I look forward to you doing whatever it is you want to do in your career. If you change your mind, that's fine also. But make sure you have a plan. Not having a plan, it's probably not an option, as your mom and dad would say. So, moving right along now to Carl Ferry. Chairman. Did he leave? Okay. Thank you much. We appreciate that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move along. To our sponsors. First off, we got to give our sponsors a round of applause anyway. We really appreciate them. Because we know for them that a lot of things couldn't happen, so to speak, in the way that they do. So I graciously thank you, and then I will call up our Second Vice President, Veronica Carter, Council Member of the City of Lee.
That's in southeastern North Carolina, Rosa County, right across the river from Wilmington. Brian Jackson was supposed to be here, our first vice president. You heard us ask for prayer for him. I ask you, as a fellow veteran, to continue to pray for him. He's having some issues right now, and we're just hoping that the Lord puts his hands on him and brings him back to us sometime before the conference ends. So we all know that you can't produce events without the appropriate support of good sponsors. So every chance we get, we want to thank each of you for the contributions that you've made. So I'm going to name the sponsors. I'd ask them to stand as I name them. And would you all please hold your applause until I finish making the announcements. An elite sponsor is the City of Rocky Mount. Please stand to represent the City of Rocky Mount. Chief, you back there. Come on. Enterprise. Please stand. Just no, we're gonna make you stand. Come on, y'all been sitting a long time. Come on, stand up and get some applause. Some love. Okay. Enterprise, Car Services. I know you guys are here. Okay. The local government federal credit union, they are a gold sponsor. Thank you. North Carolina Class, who also sponsored drinks for our president's reception, they're a gold sponsor. Thank you. The City of Winston-Salem, which is a gold sponsor. Please stand. Thank you. Black Alliance, you are silver sponsors. Thank you. Rocky Mountain Area Chamber of Commerce, silver sponsors. Friends of BEMO, Republic Services. Friends of BEMO, the Nash County Tourism, and Friends of BEMO, the town of Morrisville. Now can I ask that we give all of these sponsors Many of them have tables outside. They'll be around for dinner tonight. Please stop by and thank them. Learn more about their organizations. Please let them know how much we appreciate them supporting our event, as well as supporting each and every one of us and the causes that we stand for. So, President Hardy.
All right, we had an awesome time. I appreciate each and every one of you being here today. Thank you for traveling near and far to be here. You guys are indeed a blessing to everyone in the room, especially those that are youth here that are striving for the dreams that they can be. So we do appreciate you and all your efforts, everything that you do to support local elected officials. Supporting each other is a big deal, and we must continue to do so. So thank you, and what we'll do is, well, next we'll move on to the next session. Before that, I would just like to say these words. You know, life must persist, and the question is, what are we doing to help others? And everybody in this room is doing just that. That's Dr. MLK. So if you let that resonate as to you go through your daily lives and looking at how you impact others, it's definitely something that we have to do every single day. If you don't wake up and you're not impacting the lives of those that you encounter, then you know just rethink what you're doing and why you're sitting in the position you're sitting. So next, all of the meeting sessions or locations are in the Nash Banquet Room. The Nash Banquet Room. You can't find it, someone that volunteers and then direct you to that room. And all those sessions will be upstairs. And without any further, you'll receive a selection from Joshua Peel. JP, let's give it up to our saxophonist also. And also, I'll be remiss if I didn't recognize the Honorable Justice Michael Morgan, who will stand Supreme Court of Carolina. Thank you so much for what you always do and for showing up. We do appreciate it.
Thank the caterer.
And we do thank the caterer. Sheila, we do appreciate your efforts in making sure that we have this food on point today. We appreciate that. And that's why half the room was sleep. Because they had cheese steak also. And it was really I ate it. I'm struggling. But what we're going to do is have JP, saxophonist, give us a selection, and then we'll move on to the next session. Judge Williams, if you would stay. I didn't see you on that, Judge, but don't hold it against me. Good to see you, and thank you for what you always do for us here every week. 2 o'clock. All right, we're going to start at 2 o'clock on time. The session's upstairs. That's $1,400. Those are going to 2 o'clock. So we'll start at 2. Check it out.